Chapter 5. Christian encounters Mr. Worldly Wiseman. Now, as Christian was walking all alone, he noticed someone else in the distance on his way across the field coming to meet him. And so it happened that they met just when their paths crossed. The name of this particular gentleman was Mr. Worldly Wiseman, who resided in the town of Carnal Policy, a very large community not far removed from Christian's former hometown. So this man met Christian and acted as if he knew of his coming beforehand. The reason was that pilgrims setting out from the city of destruction were usually the subject of intense gossip that spread to many distant towns. Therefore, because Mr. Worldly Wiseman had some inkling of his coming, he was easily able to observe Christian's laborious approach, his sighs and groans and the like, and thus engage him in sympathetic conversation. "Hello there, my good fellow," said Mr. Worldly Wiseman, "and where are you travelling with such a burdened manner?" "Yes, it certainly is a burdened manner," replied Christian, "and as good a one as any poor creature ever had. As to where I am going, sir, let me tell you. I am on my way toward that distant wicket gate that is just ahead, for there, I have been told, I will gain entrance into the way that will lead to the removal of my heavy burden." "Do you have a wife and children?" asked Worldly Wiseman. "Yes," replied Christian, "but I am so weighed down with this burden that I cannot enjoy them as much as was formerly the case. In fact, it now seems as if I had no family at all." "Then will you listen to me if I give you good advice?" asked Worldly Wiseman. "Certainly I will," replied Christian, "provided it is good, for I am in great need of wise counsel." "Then," said Worldly Wiseman, "I would advise you to get rid of your burden with all possible speed, for you will never have peace of mind until then, nor will you be able to enjoy the benefits of the blessing that God has bestowed upon you until such a time." "What you describe is certainly what I am seeking after," said Christian, "namely, to be rid of my burden. But I cannot get relief by myself, nor do I know of a man in our country who can lift it off my shoulders. So for this reason, I am heading in this direction, as I told you, so that I may be rid of my burden." "Who directed you to go this way, so as to be rid of your burden?" asked Worldly Wiseman. "A man who appeared to me to be a very great and honourable person," replied Christian. "His name, as I remember it, is Evangelist." "I most certainly condemn him for his advice," said Worldly Wiseman, "for there is not a more dangerous and troublesome way ahead in all the world than that into which he has directed you, and you will prove this to be so if you submit to his guidance. Indeed, you appear to have experienced some of this trouble already, for I notice dirt on you that surely comes from the slough of despond. Yet that slough is but the beginning of your sorrows, even as other pilgrims experience along the way. Listen to me, since I am older than you. As you proceed along the way ahead, you are likely to experience wearisomeness, painfulness, hunger, perils, nakedness, sword, lions, dragons, darkness, and, in a word, death. And what else? These things are certainly true, since they have been confirmed by the testimonies of many pilgrims. So why should a man so carelessly place himself in danger by paying attention to the advice of a stranger. Why, sir, said Christian, this burden on my back is more terrible to me than all of those things that you have mentioned. No, to give careful thought, I don't care what I meet with in the way, as long as I can eventually be delivered from my burden. How then did you come by your burden in the first place? Asked Worldly Wiseman. By reading this book in my hand, replied Christian. I thought so, said Worldly Wiseman. It has happened to you in the same way that other weak men, in meddling with things that are too high for them, have suddenly fallen into the same bewilderment that you presently suffer. Now this confusion not only humiliates men, even as I observe that you have suffered, but it also causes them to pursue desperate causes, and so seek that which they know little about. Well, said Christian, I know what I want to obtain, and that is relief from my heavy burden. But why do you seek for ease with regard to your present way, seeing that it involves so many dangers? Asked Worldly Wiseman. If you had but patience enough to listen to me, I would advise you how to obtain what you desire, only without the perils that you are certain to encounter if you follow the way ahead. Yes, and further, the remedy I would suggest is close at hand. Besides, I will offer yet more, for instead of dangers, you will meet with much safety, friendship, and content. Pray, sir, do explain to me this secret, pleaded Christian. Worldly Wiseman explained. Why, a short distance away is the village Mortality, in which there lives a gentleman whose name is Legality. Now, he is a very judicious man of the highest reputation, and as such he is well able to assist men with the removal of burdens from their shoulders, such as you have. In fact, to my knowledge, he has been a great help to many pilgrims in this regard. Yes, and besides this, he is most skillful in curing those who are plagued with anxiety concerning their burdens. To him you should go right now for immediate help. His house is less than a mile from here, and if perhaps you should not find him at home, then he has a very pleasant son named Civility, who is able to give the same assistance as his father. As I have said, there you can be relieved of your burden, and should you then prefer not to return home, as I would indeed recommend, you can then send for your wife and children to come to this village. There you will also find suitable empty houses available that are reasonably priced. Living standards and food, while being inexpensive, are of a very high quality. Added to this enjoyable environment would be the company of honest neighbors who maintain financial security and an attractive lifestyle. Now Christian was somewhat of two minds concerning what he should do, but he soon concluded that if what this congenial gentleman said was true, then his wisest course would be for him to take his advice. So with this in mind, he further spoke with Mr. Worldly Wiseman. Sir, said Christian, which way is it that I should take to this honest man's house? Do you see a high hill that is just ahead of you? Said Worldly Wiseman. Yes, said Christian, very clearly. Then, continued Worldly Wiseman, you must go beyond that hill, and the first house you will come to is that of Mr. Legality.